Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. So welcome to episode 503 of the Man That Can Project podcast. I'm your host, Lachlan, Stuart, and today we have a special guest with us. I've been going back and forth with Pete for a while, a very busy man, and you're about to find out why. But Pete's the CEO of Fitstop, which is one of the fastest growing functional fitness places on the planet, which is phenomenal. You are going global, but I'm very excited, because you've done this alongside your wife as well, which is such a unique and beautiful thing. And I'm also very excited to dive into that. But you took it from what started in Brisbane to now being a global brand. You're over 120 locations now, around.
Yeah, 120 with 3 more opening this weekend.
So 123 by the end of this weekend, by the time everyone's heard this, and it's just continuing to grow. But today I'm excited to dive into your vision, the balance between work-life balance, if that's a thing at the moment, as we just discussed, the risks that you've taken, and also your ability to find solutions as the problems keep coming up. Because for a lot of our audience, it's like 83% men, and a lot of them are wanting to find a way to be better in their life. And a lot of what you've done with what you've created is transferable into all areas of their life. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. But before we dive in, if you've been finding value in our episodes, if they've been lighting that fire within you, do us a favor. Hit that like button and subscribe and share on your socials, or share with a buddy that you know will gain value from this. Every like, every subscription helps us reach more people, spread more inspiration, and create a community of achievers. Remember, together we're not just dreaming, we're achieving. Now, let's dive into today's episode and keep that momentum going. The Man That Can Project podcast, a podcast empowering career-driven men to live more fulfilling lives. We are here to challenge your beliefs, redefine success, and talk about the important stuff in a relatable way. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. My name's Lachlan, Stuart. Let's get into it. You just had a unique, or probably not a unique experience, but when you walked in, so we're at WeWork at the moment, we've hired a office. You walked in, the lady at the front reception was like, Fitstop. I know that place. She trains there. How's that feel for you when you have moments like that?
It is pretty cool. And I guess I'm a little bit fortunate. I don't really, paint the brand with my face. It's always been about our community. So I get these interactions and get to speak to people about their experience in Fitstop. Fortunately, that was an amazing experience. She trains out at Salisbury. Dave's the owner there. And we joked about how much energy he has at 5 a.m. in the morning. And and it's the same question. Oh, do you work there? Are you a trainer? I'm like, I used to be, but I'm actually the founder. And that look on her face was pretty cool. So again, Fitstop's always been about the community. It's always, for me, really been about how we can grow and inspire the right people, and whether that's our membership base, whether that's the trainers, the managers, the owners. I've been on a crazy roller coaster now for 5 years in franchising, coming up to 5 years, and I've been in the space for coming up to 10 years as a business owner within the fitness world. So it's been pretty good. Yeah,
I do have a photo that you posted recently that I'll spin around at some point, and we'll get your take on it. Which is pretty impressive. And like 10 years in business is so unique, but let alone obviously 5 years in franchising. But before we dive into the community and all of that sort of stuff, because what you have created and your team has created and your community has created is really world class. And there's a lot of great things that people can take away from that, from getting into their fitness journeys, the power of being in community, but also taking risks, etc. But before we do, can we go back to the beginning? I know you had Jace from LSKD on probably 2 years ago now, maybe. It's time's flown. But you guys grew up together doing motocross and everything like that. So prior to Fitstop, you wanted to be a professional motocross racer. Can you take us back to give us an overview of your upbringing and then how you got into fitness and then...
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I've known Jay since we were 15.
Yep.
I grew up in the Redlands, out in the Bayside. We moved to Mount Cotton, when I was 15. I grew up racing motocross, super fortunate to be able to do that sport. I think it taught me a lot. It taught me that when you hit the ground really hard, you just got to get back up. And I think that's why I keep just getting back up and running forward in business and in life now. But yeah, Jason and I grew up racing motocross. We knew of each other. He's a little bit older than me, and we could hear each other riding. We literally lived like 3 doors down from each other.
Yep.
We both, again, really fortunate to have supercross tracks in our front yard, and
so cool.
We could hear each other riding. And this was before kind of diving into someone's DM on Instagram to say hello. It was he literally rode up the street, up my driveway as I was riding my track, and we started riding together, and it just became great mates.
Yep.
And I got to see his journey and evolution of loose kid, into LKI and then now LSKD, and what he's been able to create. But literally, going around to his mum's house and looking at all the merch and helping him at markets and at the motocross tracks doing pop ups and things like that. So yeah, it was an interesting time. But I went from trying to chase the dream to be a professional athlete. I probably should have listened a little bit more at school. Probably would have paid off a little bit more now. But I was so caught up in that world. All I wanted to do was ride my dirt bike. I did leave school in grade 12 though, and I went and became a motorcycle mechanic. That was kind of my dad's history. Yep. He worked for a bunch of race teams for Honda Australia. The company I was riding for and looking after and supporting me at motocross then gave me an apprenticeship, and that's kind of where I kicked off, I guess, my employee life. Yep. But at the age of 20, so kind of coming out of my trade, just had kind of finished up and had turned pro in Australia and was traveling a little bit. I definitely hadn't made it, but I was at that point where you were getting free stuff, and that was cool.
It's always cool, yeah.
But I tore my ACL. So I tore my ACL at the start of the year. I got it repaired, didn't really recover properly, probably didn't listen to the right people or see the right people. Yep. And again, for me, growing up racing motocross, you didn't really have structure. It was like ride your bike, try to eat okay. We were told to, get a road cycle and swim and do a little bit of weights. Yep. Probably didn't have the right education around us at the stage. So when I did my first knee reconstruction, again, didn't rehab properly, didn't probably listen to the right people. I jumped back on a bike at 3.5 months, should have been 6, just because that's all I wanted to do.
There you go, yeah.
And I tore it again. And that was kind of the big handbrake. The surgeon told my mum, who, financially backed me at that stage, that I should grow up and get a real job, and that if I ever wanted to, kick a soccer ball or run with my kids, when I'm 40, then I need to really seriously think about what I'm doing with my life. So that was kind of a big handbrake for me to go, okay, what am I going to do next? Sure, working on bikes was okay, and it was keeping me in that world, but I guess it wasn't really what I was passionate about. Yep. I was probably still really arrogant and naive, thinking that I'd maybe get back into the sport. So sitting on the couch, not doing a lot, I decided to go and sign up to Cert 3 and 4 at Australian Institute of Fitness, actually in here at Lutwich.
Yeah, right.
Went and did that. But what I really learned through that process was connecting with people that had been there and done it, connecting with some amazing people. So my physiotherapist was working for the Brisbane Lions at the time. I surrounded myself with a bunch of S&C coaches. I got to travel back to the US now working with some athletes, and I got to be around a different kind of style of training. And I started to formulate that out for myself and work with athletes that were motocross riders and BMX riders. So now when I kind of look at business and any advice I'm giving to a startup, it's like, find your niche, don't be all things to all people. Yep. Looking back, that's what I really did was, I didn't think about money at that stage, and my wife reminds me of this all the time. I didn't care about money. It's still not my driver. I just wanted to help people, and I wanted to learn. Selfishly, I wanted to still be around the sport. So I just started training a bunch of my mates who were pro athletes and built this methodology that turned into an online and offline program, because I could work on bikes, being a mechanic. I could now train them in the gym. I could write them programs. I could work on their nutrition. And I could go to the track and in some way, shape or form coach them, because I kind of half knew what I was doing. I became, an all things to a one athlete. Yep. And again, a bit of a niche. No one was doing it in motocross, kind of built my brand. my brand was Power to Perform, P2P. Again, I'm kind of like taking it off like LKI piece.
Evolved.
But yeah, my mum created this brand for me. She thought I could give people the power to perform.
That's so good.
And we were going to motocross tracks, the same as Jay's, selling his merch, but I was going to the tracks and taking a physiotherapist or a masseuse. I was setting up a pop-up.
So you had a team with you then, like of other health professionals going?
Yeah, because it was about brand connection.
Yeah, that's awesome.
How could I help, and give back? This physiotherapist, Simon, his name is, he gave me so much with education, and I was seeing him 3 times a week. He wasn't charging me, and I was really exposed to just giving more and doing the right thing for different communities and just helping out because we were really passionate. So we started doing that at motocross tracks, and then I was, trying to get his brand exposure because he was running a clinic. So we're just kind of, networking and connecting and doing what we thought was right. The pop-up though, so in motorsport, you call it a pit stop. So we called it P2P's Fitstop.
And that's where the name
comes from.
Yeah, right. That's so brilliant.
Yeah, it is crazy to think how it's all evolved. Obviously, we dropped the P2P and we've lent into Fitstop, but essentially it's your place that you go that you can kind of take some time out. You can think about you can train for something that's outside of the gym, and that's what we really focus on now, and where the brand has really evolved into. It's focused on functional group fitness. It's heavily S&C focused with a 12-week periodized program, but our biggest driver is we want people to move more so they can live more. Go get a 3RM. Today was 3RM testing for back squats, and people are hitting amazing numbers and supporting each other and spotting each other and ringing the bell and all that stuff. But like, what does it actually allow you to do? Does it allow you to sign up for your first half marathon, or run with your kids, or go hiking, or go to the US and do your sport? Like whatever it is. But that's kind of what we're really about.
How did you get to hone in on the we move more to live more sort of approach? Because everyone has their approaches, and I can really subscribe to what you guys prioritize, because I always think about older people that you see, some old people who, they're not even that old, right? They might be 60, but they're shuffling. Their quality of life, from how I see it, it doesn't look that great in terms of if you want to be active. So how did you sort of dial in on that, and how do you inspire people to sort of look at the bigger picture?
Yeah, I think it comes back to the original training methodology was I wasn't training an athlete to be better in the gym. Everything we did was training them for their sport. And if our sport as an everyday athlete is life, or whatever it is you choose, then that's what you should be identifying and pushing yourself into. So from a training methodology piece, we really encourage training 3 times a week in Fitstop. That's it. I want people to get outside. I want them to run. I want them to get active. I want them to have recovery days. We've gamified our technology stack to incentivize people with a reward system and a different tiered status of going from a rookie to an all-star purely based off 3 sessions a week. And I think if people can really subscribe to the fact that it's not about getting fit for the gym, that's a really short-term approach. It's, hey, what can I do next? And we've still got a long way to go within Fitstop to really dive deeper into this and to get a wider audience. But it's the little things like the events we set up during the year, campaigns we sponsor, trying to get people outdoors, to run their first kilometre or 5 kilometres or whatever it is. But just inspiring people to chase more of that lifestyle piece and live a healthy and active lifestyle.
It's brilliant, because there are a lot of people out there who are wanting to start their fitness journey, and there is a misconception that you need to train every day, or you need to train 5 days a week, or be doing, barbell back squats on Bosu balls and all the stuff you see on Instagram.
Yes.
Through the way that you've gamified it, and I understand you guys also prioritize tracking, through your app and everything like that, which I think is amazing. 3 days of training for people, how can that deliver results for the people who are going, it's probably not possible?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is considering that it's not just about the movement patterns or the work that you're doing in the gym, right? It's like, how do you adapt this to your lifestyle? And how are we finding that balance of your right nutrition, your right hydration, your right sleep, without going too deep with all of it. Again, I know you're wearing a Whoop.
Yeah, I know, I'm gamed up.
You've got all the things, right? And I think that's incredible if that's what you're in tune with and focused on. But again, if we go back to move more to live more, how do we provide a platform that keeps inspiring education over a longer term? Like, I would love to leave a legacy. I think if Fitstop can become a legacy-leaving brand like a Nike or, even in the fitness world, I think Orange Theory has done this with how we can teach our community just to live better, so that in 50 years' time, this is the vision that I have is, grandma's sitting there with the granddaughter, and the granddaughter's like, "Grandma, you're so active still. You're still walking 5 kilometers and like eating well. Like, how have you done this? Like, I've learned through TikTok or whatever other platform it is then, right?" And the grandma turns to the granddaughter and she's like, "Oh, I trained at Fitstop, in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, and I loved it so much. I still pop in there and see everyone and do a session a week." Like, yeah, that's kind of what this is about, I think. And again, going back to me, wanting to jump into the fitness world and go from training athletes to, the everyday athlete or someone that wants to be fit for life. For me, it was around, hey, fitness can be just really simple. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. I've never reinvented the wheel. I've just been able to, I think, work out how do we connect all the dots? How do we make sure we can inspire someone to feel less intimidated when they walk into a gym of whatever gym that is? How do we get human connection? And we do that through our training methodologies. And then how do we keep promoting education when people need it? When we walk into the gym for the first time, a lot of the time it's just like, I want to move my body again. I want to feel safe and secure. I want to feel connected. But then as we start to progress, it's like, all right, I want to start honing in on maybe my nutrition. I want to start thinking about my sleep. I want to be around, different forms of athletes. I want to sign up to my first event. Like, everyone's going to have their own unique journey. So as long as we can have touch points through their journey, and we can somewhat understand it, I think that's where data collection is coming into a big piece of the puzzle. AI is going to help out a lot with this stuff, but yeah, everyone's kind of on their own path. So as long as we can, we can support that, whether it's a reason, season, or a lifetime, then I'm happy.
Yeah, that's brilliant. It's great to see that you are, and look, data is a very important thing because it does give you feedback around what's working well for people, what you do and don't like, and that then drives results, and results is what motivates people to keep coming back. You've touched on community a lot, and as you were saying before, you're not the face of Fitstop, your community is.
Yeah.
How did you recognize that was so important to, I guess, almost tying it into purpose, because you were training athletes and now you're training everyday athletes, and I love that you refer to all of us as athletes because we're an athlete for life. I think that's brilliant. It's motivating. It changes the narrative on how we can view training. But why do you believe it was so important to build that community culture within Fitstop?
To be honest, I think that's where I saw the success come from.
Yep.
And again, success for me isn't financial success or freedom. It's all about kind of creating this movement, and genuinely seeing people that are passionate, supported, living their best life. And look, I didn't crack the code straight away for the first kind of 6 months of running a business. So going from one-on-one coaching, small group, to then kind of jumping in the deep end, leasing an industrial building out in Redland Bay, kicking off the first kind of group training timetable. I'm the only trainer. I'm all things to all people. The first kind of 6 months was a grind. Definitely I was losing money every month, even though the rent was super cheap. I was still traveling a lot. I was still working on bikes. Like, I was working huge days. I'm like, man, but I love this training style. Like, why isn't it working? And if you go back kind of 9 years ago, it was very much that kind of transformational challenge. And I tried a bunch of these more like lifestyle inspired pieces and how do I adapt people to the program. But we probably weren't really loud and proud about our training methodology and what we could do for the general public. So the first real kind of spike I saw was we really went hard into a 6-week challenge. And I treated every single member that bought into the program like a dedicated athlete. And to be honest, it's definitely not what Fitstop is today. It was very restrictive. It was, here's your meal plan on a piece of paper. Beck and I would personally write them out for every single person. But we had 20 people that did the first one. And it was like no alcohol, no coffee. It was basically the 75 hard.
Yeah, right? Restrictive.
Super restrictive and not sustainable. But we got insane results. Like, train every day, only eat this, like do your steps, before bed. Yeah. Like, it was full on, but really programmed everyone to change their mindset to be like, hey, let's be athlete focused. Like, let's just go all out on this. Got insane results. I shared everyone's story. So we shared before and afters, but the most important part was like, hey, I was a tradie. I put on 20 kilos since, leaving school and doing sport, kind of lost my way a little bit, ate sausage rolls and drank beer after work, found Fitstop, went all in with the 6-week program, lost 15 kilos, feel the best I ever have, and I'm building friends again. So after we did that, like those testimonials for me was like that big wake up call of like, oh shit, like this program works. Most importantly though, it was building this connection because everyone did it together.
Yep.
We changed the training methodology through that program as well, where we started building out teams of 3. I started changing the way the room would flow. And it was really all about the member. Like we can run a group of 36 people that are testing 3RM on back squat. You know, we've got 3 other stations around the room. 1 coach in the middle, which is informing the room and guiding the room. But we actually create extra coaches because we're training in teams of 3. If we're testing for a back squat, it's 1 person working, 1 person resting, 1 person spotting. So we built this early on because I was like, oh shit, I'm not going to, like, I want to bring all this, like, this testing and tracking in. But me as one coach, I can't spot everyone. So I'm like, fuck, all right, I've got to teach these people how to look after each other. And then that was the kind of the big growth story. And that really leaned into, okay, this is about the community. This is about how do we teach more people to train the right way, to look after each other. They become accountable then. They're accountable to each other. I don't have to have all these retention tools and all this other stuff. It's like, hey, I'm turning up for my mates and I'm going to get great results. I'm going to push and encourage and that peer-to-peer pressure. So that's kind of, we went from 20 people opting into this series to like 80 the next one. I went from literally went from 30 members to like 120 within kind of a 12-week period because people were just like, oh shit, I need to be a part of that. I was still training like Red Bull athletes and like Red Bull DJs were rocking up to my events and we had a lot of fun doing it. We would always make sure that we had a kickoff event and then a finisher kind of for the 6-week program. The finisher would be a workout for time, kind of a testing element. But most importantly, just like, again, community getting around each other, make it fun, DJ, blow up pools, all the things, and then throw huge after parties. To the stage, it got pretty out of control for a while there. I was hiring nightclubs. But yeah, it's been an incredible ride, but back to your point, like it's always been about the people. Like, how do we help more people get amazing results, feel a sense of connection, and really support each other?
There's a few key things that jumped out at me there, like how empowered your members must feel, because a lot of people, when you mentioned you're teaching people to be able to spot and get involved in the community and actually be part of other people's results, that's so empowering and it does build confidence and it makes you feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. Yeah. It's very easy could have been very easy, and I know a lot of places potentially do this where they're just like, you sit off to the side and take your rest and we'll deal with it, and you could be doing whatever, which is fine. But when you're actually accountable for someone else, it does make you want to show up, which I think is absolutely incredible. And it's no wonder you're growing at the rate that you're growing at. You then look at your training methodology where it's like community focused. You went from motocross to then training athletes to now your bigger purpose of empowering people, which I think is phenomenal. I just lost my train of thought there. I was like, I was layering this, man, and then I was like, it's going to happen, but we'll come back to that. Damn it. That was going to be so good. Let's go to this. Providing obviously the group focused performance, progression, and unleashing the inner athlete in everyone, no matter what that looks like. The tagline, obviously, we've sort of touched on, but everyday people designing to athletes, why is that so important to you?
Yeah, look, I think it's more of a mindset piece. What we've really done is made strength and conditioning training accessible for anyone and everyone. And group fitness can be intimidating, right? Like, I know the way you train. I know the way I used to train. For me, it's actually creating a really sustainable routine now. And stepping into a Fitstop, we talk about the home of functional fitness being Fitstop, and I talk about that for 2 reasons. The biggest one is home for me is safety, security, and that's the feeling we want to create. My original brand had green AstroTurf at the front and a bunch of timbers and reds and blacks. And the reason I did that, I was trying to bring the outside in. And again, the original brand had a big stop sign with FS in the middle because Fitstop, pit stop, like stop sign. So again, like all the layers there, it was all about the feeling. Then have a good friend that ran a brand agency that helped me kind of rebrand and actually identify kind of the real key things we wanted to bring to the wider audience. But the home of functional fitness for me is really about creating a safe and secure environment, lowering those barriers of intimidation. Although at Fitstop, sure, you're going to lift weights and you're going to work hard, the way that we actually program it out, it's all about that time and rep-based training. It's not HIIT training. So you're not going to come into Fitstop and watch a clock and go as hard as you can for 50 seconds, with a heavy bar and expect it to lift the same weight as someone else. We program it so as you walk in, you're going to meet someone, you're going to team up. You can back squat the bar or a dumbbell for the first time. Maybe you've never done it before. And that's been the interesting part about launching into the US. So many people have never touched a barbell. And
really?
They're squatting for the first time using a barbell, but in the same session, you've got someone to the left of you in a different cell with a different team, back squatting 120, 140 pounds over there, whatever the conversion is.
225 or something, yeah.
But you really make the workout work for you. Everyone starts and finishes together. It's a very inclusive environment. So you can go from, again, never squatting, never kind of going through those movement patterns to all of a sudden hitting these PBs, hitting that progression. You can also walk in as a professional athlete, still get an incredible workout. You definitely want some sort of base level fitness at Fitstop, but for me, it's actually about re-inspiring when we felt the best in our life. And for a lot of us, that was growing up through school or college or whatever it was, when we remember back and it's like, oh, I remember when I was part of a team sport or I was training on this program and I felt incredible and those days are done. It's like, no, those days are not done. Walk back into Fitstop, be a part of the program, find your team again and go for it.
Fuck, that's awesome. The barriers, intimidation, that was sort of the tangent I was going on before I had a brain fart. But a lot of people, especially in the space we work in men's health, everyone's like, just communicate with your partner better or do this and do that. And it's like, communication is crucial, but a lot of people are so insecure and uncertain in who they are. They don't know where to start with that. They don't know how to say the right things, etc. And the same with gym. It's, 67% roughly of people are obese or overweight in Australia alone. That's significant, right?
Yeah.
We know exercise is important to that, and obviously managing diet, sleep, the things that you've mentioned, your mission. But it's that step prior to that. How do we get people to feel safe and secure going into an environment? Because it can be intimidating. I think about my mum. She's extremely intimidated at the gym, but I'm like, Mum, you've got to get in there.
Yeah.
It'll change your life.
Yeah.
And after a week or two, you're going to feel like you've got a community. So the way you've just spoken about it, and for anyone listening who is considering starting their fitness journey, you've got 120 locations.
Yeah.
There's bound to be one near you. And if not, reach out to Pete. maybe there's an opportunity. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, it's a really good point, and something that we've learnt into is confidence looks different on everyone, right? And we can be the best shape in our life and feel the less confident we ever have. So it's making sure that you can, get that sense of connection, sense of achievement. You start leaning into the real you again.
Yeah.
And then this stuff starts happening. But yeah, I'm a big believer. Fitness for me is every morning. If I'm not, I know I'm not going to be on. If I don't train well because of traveling, or when I was traveling to the US and we didn't have a Fitstop, I felt it. And it was a lot to do with mindset.
Yep.
Because Fitstop is my routine. It's the way I love to train. But it's also my people. I know I can walk into any Fitstop. And again, being honest, I'll walk into a Fitstop I haven't been into before, or I haven't been into a long time. And at the start, I'm like, oh shit, who am I going to train with today? I know no one. I'll kind of stick, to myself a little bit. Yep. I'll say hello to the team first, and I'll stick to myself. And then in the warm up, we always group people up.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to find my team. I'm going to introduce myself. We're going to have a bit of a chat. Then we're going to get into the workout. By the end of the workout, I've just made 2 more good friends. We share some stories along the way. Usually it's like, oh, hey, you've been going to Fitstop long? And I'm like, oh, yeah, about 9 years. But that's what I love about it. It is that connection piece. But confidence looks different on everyone, and that's why everyone's journey is quite unique.
And that's why it's so unique that you guys have gamified that. We do it similar in ours because, once again, people have that resistance where you may not feel comfortable to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
But you guys have taken that out of the hands of people to go, look, we've got you covered. We're going to get you introduced so that by the end of this session, you do feel part of the community. And I think that's, you and I do this for a living, and there's still moments where I walk into a room and I'm very happy to just blend in against the wall. But when people force you to, you're like, I'm so grateful they did that.
Yes.
The other thing, going back to helping people identify as everyday athletes, when you think of yourself as an athlete, right, the habits that you want to have in your life are very different to if you picture yourself as just an everyday person, right, where you might go have your beers and your burger after dinner, as opposed to if I'm an everyday athlete, I probably don't want to have my beers. I want to go to Fitstop, or I want to go for a walk or eat healthy or drink more water. And it's just changing your identity, which is, I think the language piece is very crucial to people. So I love that you guys do that as well. I want to sort of shift gears a little bit. You've been in business with your wife, and at the time wasn't maybe wife in the beginning, Beck?
Yeah, not wife.
You guys
girlfriend.
Girlfriend. You guys have ridden the journey together. How has that been, and what has it been like building something together? Because it's very rare that a couple gets to experience that.
It is, yes, and I think Beck tells the story slightly different. So you maybe have to
phone her in.
Yeah, phone her in on this. I think she, what's some of the language she uses is when you work with your partner, it puts a magnifying glass on your strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
And, I think, for us, I'm really grateful that we're on the journey together. Again, going back to the very start when I leased the first kind of industrial building, 100 square meters, we had no money. Really fortunate. Beck's always had the stable career. So, she's intelligent. She went to uni, got an amazing career. She's kind of always paid the bills, which is nice because when you're a startup, there's not much contribution coming back. I've always, again, she thinks I hate money. I've always reinvested everything back into the business. For the first kind of 3 or maybe even 4 years, I paid myself $500 a week. So that overnight success stuff and all the media stuff, it's all great. But you've got to go all in on your business. This is a long-term play for us. And it's genuinely about creating the community. But yeah, back to fitting out the gym. She had just got a new role. She had got a company car. She'd actually bought her first brand new car I think it was about 9 months prior.
Yep.
I convinced her that we should sell that. And fund the equipment. So we sold a Toyota Corolla. Again, partners at the time, not engaged yet. But yeah, she sold a Toyota Corolla. We then bought a bunch of equipment. I actually imported it from China. It arrived 3 days before we opened, and that's how we got started. But again, super fortunate that she's always been heavily involved in fitness, super driven herself, always been our stability, our rock, and she just kind of, I guess, believes in me. She knows that if I've got a vision, whether it's kind of arrogance, ego, or whatever else you want to call it, confidence maybe.
I was like,
if I've got something in my mind, I'm going to achieve it.
Yep.
There is no failure. It is I burn the boats. It's all in. I'm going to make this happen. So, when we're having the conversation around, all right, well, I'm going to, I'm not going to kind of work out the 24-hour gym anymore. I want to build out this kind of, the studio. My vision for it was very athletic inspired. How do we create this performance center? We chatted about the investment it was going to be needed and went all in on that. That kind of grew. We were always around the gym. Beck was training in there where she could. She worked in the city. So we actually, moved into the city so that, she could walk to work because we only had one car family at this stage because she changed jobs again. So she was walking to work. I was then driving out to the Redlands to run our first location. So we'd move from Redland Bay into Victoria Point. We then opened Morningside, completely self-funded, all of it. But it had built this great business. It wasn't until we had franchised and then at about location number 8, I think it was, or it was within the first 10 anyway, finally convinced her that the business had some form of stability and that I wasn't crazy.
Yep.
But at that stage, I was still all things to all people. So up until I think it was about number 8 or 10, I was the only full-time employee. I had a bunch of support around me. And again, this is going back to the community piece. Every location we opened, they were my new team. It was like, cool, these are the owners, these are the trainers, these are the managers. We're going and not doing the next one. So everyone would come with me to the next open, the third open, the fourth open, the fifth open. All of a sudden, it's like there's a team of 10 there helping. I'm still finding leases. I'm painting the building with them. It was complete startup. There was no systems and processes. It was just energy and passion. But within all of that, I'm still selling franchises. I'm understanding franchise law. I'm across everything. So finally convinced her that, hey, you need to come and step into the business and you need to sell these things. In franchising, and again, I've always tried to lean into who's been there and done it, and more importantly, who's messed it up.
Yep.
So I'm looking across franchising as a whole. I'll be honest, I don't really look at fitness franchising for my inspiration. It's kind of that hospitality industry, people that have got real scale. And all the commentary is the area you'll mess it up is if you sell too quickly and you drive a bunch of cash in just from sales, you sell to the wrong people. They don't buy into the passion and energy, especially in early days when you don't have great systems.
Yep.
And then things go bad pretty quickly. You're setting these kind of false expectations. We don't have a vision aligned, values unaligned. So if it wasn't me selling, I knew we needed someone that was going to really protect the company, probably more than I was, and that was Beck. So I finally convinced her, step into the business, you're going to lead franchise growth, and she's done that for the last, whatever it is, 4 years. So it's been incredible. It was definitely interesting the first kind of year, because it was like, cool, you're going to step into the business. I'm the boss. Yep. I hate saying that, but sometimes again, a bit arrogant. Yep. And this is what we need to do. Beck's complete opposite to me. High attention to detail, wants to focus on every element of a process. Really, really strong values around what we're creating, and we'll never let that slide. So that first kind of year was, I'm like, big picture vision, and she's like, but tell me the detail. She's also come from an amazing, company in the city overlooking the Story Bridge, Eagle Street Pier, beautiful office, to no office, sitting on the floor with a laptop and a phone, calling leads that don't even know who Fitstop is or what it is. So yeah, it was an interesting journey, but so grateful because we both feel the highs and lows. We both are always working on how we're communicating around it. And we're always pushing each other in the right direction. She'll be the first one that'll be like, hey, okay, I know you're having a bit of a hard time, but you need to get on with it now. This is what you're good at. Yep. Like, just go and focus on that. Make these decisions faster. Like, move on with it. And then, the same on the other side. I'll tell her what can you control, what can't you, because she'll think about everything that can possibly happen. So for me and her, it's like, hey, what can you control right now? What are you going to action? What are you going to move forward with? That stuff, I'll deal with it in the future. That's the later peak issue. But let's just do these things. So yeah, it's been good.
How much did, in that initial moment, you weren't married, you were just boyfriend, girlfriend?
Yeah.
Her saying yes to support you, how did that make you feel in that moment?
Well, I think that's where, for me, I was like, okay, we're all in on this. And it was an interesting time when you're starting a business, whether it's friends or family, you're always going to have people around you that are going to question. She's never questioned it. It's like, cool, let's get that done. Even to the point that we were probably 6 months into business operation, I had no idea what I was doing. Awesome trainer, I got that stuff dialed, but I hadn't lent into running a business. Yep. I'm learning for the first time, how do I employ a team? Do I create a marketing plan? I'd gone to an event in Brisbane, I can't remember what it was called, but it was for the Entourage, so a company that Jack DeLosa runs. Went to this event, watched all these amazing people on stage, and they were speaking my language. It was like, how do you scale a business? How do you create a marketing plan? How do you write and read a P&L? And I'm like, I know none of this. And it was that time when you're in those events and they're like, cool, put your hand up if you think this is for you. I put my hand up, go to the back of the room, sign up, all that stuff, right?
And did you invest in yourself then?
Yeah, so I go home, I tell her, hey, look, I think this is going to help me. It was $18,000 for the year. At this stage, I'm making no money. I'm going backwards. I don't think I was even paying myself. And she looked at me and said, well, hey, look, if we don't do this, we're probably going to lose everything anyway, right? So you may as well. I'm like, yep, you're probably right. And Beck's very black and white, which is great. I need that. So I'm like, yep, let's do it. So for the next 12 months, I flew to Sydney every second month. We invested $18,000 in our first year of business. For me to fly to Sydney on Jetstar, I was staying in backpackers. I Wake Up Sydney. Shout out to those guys. $23 a night. And I'm going to these events every second month, 4 days. I'm just immersing myself. I'm taking notes. I'm learning. And the same way I learned about fitness, for me, it wasn't necessarily about the textbook. It was about the real life experience and connecting and networking with the right people. And that's what I did. And that's how we created strategy. I learned how to write and read a P&L for the first time, how to create a budget, watch a cash flow, how to use Xero, all the basics that I hadn't learned. And that set us up with an incredible base. And that's what we kind of now do from a Fitstop level, is that mentoring piece and approach for our business owners. It's we don't say franchisee, franchisor. It's we're business owners. Our model is actually a percentage of revenue comes into HQ and gets split out to our network. We're in business together, but you got to own your shit. You got to own your business. You got to take responsibility for it. You got to know your numbers, and you got to know what we're doing, to maximize our campaigns and take responsibility for growth. So just really fortunate that she's just always had my back.
Yeah, and it's cool that one thing you touched on, you went from being an awesome trainer to then having to learn a whole new, I guess, business in itself is a whole new thing, and you just did that. You went all in and invested in yourself. A lot of people are hesitant to part with money to learn what they need to learn, but another thing that you said that I also really dive into when I'm looking at investing in courses is like, who else is going to be there that I can learn from? Are the right people that I need to be around? Because majority of our business is online, so it's a bit different to bricks and mortars. So I can learn a lot of my mates, yourself, all run these incredible businesses where I can learn from a macro level. But then for the finer things in my business, I need to be around people who are running similar businesses just to see what they're doing, what does work, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it also requires an investment in time and also money.
Yeah.
I love where you said you went to Sydney and you were staying in a backpack. It's like, some people won't do that. They're like, no, it's not possible for me.
Yeah.
So if you want it bad enough, you'll find a way.
Yeah.
And you guys are one of the biggest brands in fitness and continuing to grow. And this is where you started. People don't ever see that. And I wanted to show you this, and then I want to quickly touch on your expansion to...
What photo do you have?
over to America.
Yes.
And then we'll let you, time's important. So, but this one you posted on the stories the other day.
Oh, yeah.
So it was how it started. And for those who are watching on YouTube, I'll share this in the video.
Yep.
Nice.
That was...
Blocks, mate.
Yes. No beard, messy hair, wearing LKI, now LSKD. My shirt says dream, believe, achieve. Sorry, Lorna, not sure if I saw that from you. We never printed them in mass, promise. That was actually the personal training studio I was subleasing off. I turned up at that studio one morning at 5 a.m. with clients and it was closed with locks on the door with a sticky note saying sorry. They unfortunately had gone insolvent, ceased trading and sold all the equipment overnight. And that actually is what forced me then into leasing the industrial building and starting my own thing. So grateful for that experience. But there's been some massive, massive highs and some massive lows over the last 10 years.
What would you, if you could go back and give one little bit of wisdom to that 2013 version of yourself, what would it be?
To be honest, I've enjoyed this journey. My piece and the reminder for me always is, who do I need to be next?
Yep.
And that's what I learned very early. And it's not from a personality point of view. It's not how do I need to change as me, but who do I need to be next for the people that that are leaning on me? How can I provide more support? How can I get more growth? Again, I think it's going back to kind of being a wannabe athlete is, what's that progressive state? And that can be challenging at times because you just want more and more and more. But for me, I try to lean more into, okay, who do I need to be next? And who do I learn from? So look, at the moment, franchising is my world. I'm trying to look at how do we better our systems, our structures, trying to create now a global organization. How do I need to, structure my org chart? We call it a family tree, not an org chart, but, who do I need to learn from? And, people I look at and respect heavily is Don from Domino's, incredible business that is created now, and the master franchisor out of Australia that's multiple countries and ASX listed and out of Brisbane. So fortunate, I've had a few meetings with him, a couple of coffees with Don, and just trying to who do I need to be next to make sure that I'm still thriving, I'm still leading, I'm still learning, and trying to be a positive influence for everyone around me.
One thing you said at the very beginning as well was, rather than flying business class as a business owner, you'd rather invest that into marketing. And no one's ever said, I've interviewed 500 people and a lot of business owners, and people do that. But the fact that you said that for me shows that you genuinely care about growing what you've got and like really leading by example, because it is easy to, once you get comfortable, to go, hey, treat yourself. But when you're putting that back into marketing and improving your systems in the business, you're still doing that 10 years later.
It's the same as staying in the backpackers maybe. It was like I was happy to invest $18,000 in something, but not happy to go and spend money on, maybe the nice to haves. Again, I fly to the US a lot at the moment. And just got back from Singapore, but I wouldn't go and book a business flight. I'm fortunate now. I've got amazing points for all my flights, and hey, if I get an upgrade ever, like, it's an incredible day, and I'm super grateful for it. I'm almost trying to gamify it at the moment. I'm like, oh, will I be lucky?
What's today going to bring?
But again, I think it's been smart with your money, but not scared to reinvest, and that's what we've done. Like, I didn't need to go and build our own tech stack. You're spending millions of dollars in that technology world. Could have done what everyone else does and, MindBody or a Glowfox and focus on a billing system. And, but for me, it was, okay, but what does the future look like? How are we investing early now to be able to create a member experience that is going to last forever? And
that's exciting. And finally, just before we go, heading over to Singapore, the US, what's some of the, I guess, the stresses for you at the moment? But obviously I was going to finish it with what's your vision. You've already answered that, which is a beautiful vision to have. People when they're 60 to go, oh, it's because of Fitstop that I learned to, live a better life. Ultimately, going into US, Singapore, all that sort of stuff. How's that for you on the excitement level? What's been, I guess, one or two obstacles along the way that you've had to overcome?
So many obstacles, for sure. The US is a big beast.
Yep.
One of the major reasons we jumped into the US was we got investment 3 years ago maybe, from Lift Brands, who own Snap Fitness Global.
Yep.
And when you talk about having a layer of support, I guess the same way that, Beck gave me that initial support, and I know that, she's always got my back. When you've got a big company that have been there and done that, and want to come in to showcase some of that support, that's the kind of foundation you need to be able to make those next big moves. And, with their help and guidance, the best way I speak about, Lift Brands and Snap Fitness is they're my big brother that's been there and done it. Yep. They've done it different, and they don't ever put me in a corner or, tell me I must do these things. Yep. It's really about, what advice and guidance and how do I want to lean on them as we grow. So, moving into the US, it's been nice to have that level of support and experience. But it's had huge challenges. I've been working on the US project for over 2 years now. I've been traveling there for 2 years to do my research and identify key areas, our launch platform, our marketing plan. Yep. We instead of just going over there and selling a franchise and wishing them luck, we actually went over there and I leased an industrial building, kind of back to Redland Bay. I set up a pop-up, invested a lot of money to set up a pop-up and an office. So for 12 weeks before we launched the actual first location, the first studio, we ran a pop-up for free every Saturday. I got amazing trainer on board, Pete Pisani. He's been in the industry for 20 plus years. Yep. Really represented the brand with pride and understood our DNA. But we got feedback from our members, from our community in Santa Monica. So for 12 weeks, we ran Saturday sessions back to back. Yep. We got feedback. We looked at our communication styles and techniques. We learnt for our pre-launch. We went live in our pre-launch and opened with over 200 members. And that level of investment, again, didn't need to do that. Probably could have just gone and spent a bunch of money on PR or hired an ambassador or multiple of them. But for me, product's everything. Member experience is everything. And getting the feedback from the community was so important. So that was our rollout. But a 2-year project that definitely didn't go smooth. Understanding the US, it's definitely not the United States of America. Every state is different. Every county is different. Yep. Franchise law is super complex over there. IP law, everything. It's a different culture. I think in Australia, we have a little bit still of that kind of tall poppy syndrome. People will tell you, that won't work, or why are you doing that? In the US, it's kind of opposite, but comes with pros and cons. So everyone will rally around you. This is incredible. You're amazing. You guys are going to crush it. But something goes wrong, those same people will be the first people that turn around to sue you. There's all these layers of complexity that comes with it. So we've taken our time to learn it. I love jumping in the deep end, burning the boats, but we're a bigger brand. I've got more people to think about now than just me. So it's how do we take these calculated risks? How do we make sure we've got a really detailed plan? We're setting ourselves up for success, and that's kind of how it's flowing. So we opened Singapore and the US in the same month. That was a wild journey. Yep. I was saying before, we opened the US in Santa Monica. 200 plus members. The very next day on Sunday, Beck and I jump back on a flight. We fly back to Australia. We land on the Tuesday morning. We go straight to our 4-day conference, our summit on the coast with Lift Brands. So 800 plus people there, Fitstop, 9-round Snap. I'm back in the office then for a week. Then we go to Singapore for a fitness conference there. And I get to go and meet our first location and run a session there as a trainer and all that stuff. So look, life doesn't have a balance, but it has integration. Yep. Beck and I both know that we took the commitment on to go and do the US and to expand into multiple countries so we can create a global fitness community. Pressure's a privilege, and I'm grateful for it every day.
That's a great perspective. And for everyone following along, if you want to find Pete on socials, what's your handle?
Peter.Hull, nice and simple.
Yeah, nice and simple. And head over to fitstop.com. There's stuff around franchising and also where you can find your local gym. I love what you guys have done. Honestly, I'm sitting here inspired, and the genuine care for the community is really something that I can pick up from the conversation that we've had, and even just investing in, like you said, to America to make sure that it just has your DNA. I really can buy into that. And I've learned so much from this conversation. So thanks so much for your time.
No, thank you, mate. Appreciate it. And guys, download the app. First session's always free because we give back to our community. Check it out and let me know what you think.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.